Oh, other people are going to hear this that I know. Yeah.
Well, other people I don't mind. My family.
Your family.
So
of course, they're not other people. They're part of you.
Well,
right. Yeah.
Then I came to the realization my dad's going to sit in the audience and I'm going to sit here and talk about my vibrator collection.
Right.
And he was completely comfortable.
Of course.
And that made me comfortable, and he was proud and comfortable, and it was fine. And it was then I was like, I have a gift to be able to make it a comfortable space for other people.
Well, you hit on something that's so really missing in our culture, which is female validation by the father. Okay, so that is, kind of and certainly in my generation, I would say women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even to be spoken to by the father, have any kind of relationship with the father, was very non-existent for us. So you see a whole generation of women who, really don't have always the best relationships with men because they have a lot of unresolved issues with their father. I think that's kind of standard for our kind of group. Not that there aren't many who did have good relationships with their father, but I think generationally that's what seemed to happen. But then you had such a unique experience where you had this positive, again, validation and acknowledgement by your father as a woman, that you get to now live it and teach it as well. Because for a lot of women, in a way, they have to reparent themselves. They have to be the accepting mother and father to themselves that they didn't have. And that's something it feels like that you get to do with them, especially around this very sensitive issue.
I think gender irrelevant if you have at least one parent who validates that experience, then you're on a good track. It's much better. Yeah, much easier. It's
much easier.
Yes.
My point just around if you're heterosexual, unresolved issues with the father, you're going to tend to work out a lot of not wanting to be intimate or inappropriately intimate with your male counterpart, just because that's what we do as humans until we get some help. So is there a standard time period that you work with someone? Is there a program that they get involved with? Like, how do you work your therapy?
A lot of clients ask just that. How long am I going to be here?
Is this a life sentence?
Am I here on your couch for eternity?
Right.
And some joke that they are and they want to be. It's kind of like a nice, safe space to just have a connection to talk about these really vulnerable topics that society doesn't give us permission to talk about elsewhere. No. That said, my approach to therapy is solution-focused.
Okay, let's talk about that. What does that mean?
So taking a solution-focused approach is I look for the strengths and the resources in the client, and I really try to accentuate those to build their toolbox. People have their own natural toolbox that they can operate from, and sometimes we're not awake to our own toolbox, or sometimes we need to add tools to our toolbox, but it's using that toolbox to operate better in the world. That's part one of it.
So, like, for instance, what would be someone's tool? What would be a tool?
So premature ejaculation, a very basic, tangible tool, is the start-stop technique, and understanding the spectrum of 1 to 10, 1 being very flaccid, 10 you've already ejaculated. And so connecting your mind and your body to that spectrum. So when you're starting to become aroused and you reach a 3 and you're erect and you're aroused, and then the 4 as you're continuing self-pleasure, a 5, and then really tapping in. Sometimes men move from a 2 to a 9, and they get that point of no return, then it's over.
So you're talking about
bringing awareness to
you're talking
5,
about
6, 7.
Mind-body connection.
That's one
as
tool.
Opposed to just letting the body or the mind run the show.
Right. Correct. Okay. Which is so often in sexual dysfunction or sexual function. Either the mind runs the show with distracting thoughts, or the body runs the show and just going on automatic pilot.
Right. So connecting that would seem like a huge gift right there.
Yes.
So now I know you also run orgasm clinics, correct? Is that what you call them? Workshops.
Yes.
So for women.
Yes.
So tell me about those.
Well, I run them with my colleague, another sex therapist, Deb Rubin, and she's fabulous. So another sex therapist in town.
Yes. Did you meet her here?
I met her here. I met her here. And
how did that collaboration happen? Were you just talking about your clients, your business, and said, "Oh, that we see a need"? How did that come about?
Well, we were at lunch, just girl
Like
chatting.
this? Like
We were
this?
girl chatting,
Chatting?
talking about orgasm, and I had this idea to do this workshop, and she had this idea to do something in tandem with me in a group of women. And so I was like, well, let's blend these ideas. This is a wonderful opportunity just to give it a try and see if it works. And we've run the first session of it the first month, and it was really successful. And
So do you go to a few classes? Is it one class?
So
is it
you
a
sign
weekend?
up for the whole series.
Which is how much? How many classes?
So ideally, I'd love to have women for a whole year because it's a
Okay.
long process, but it's hard to sometimes commit to that, and it's a
Sure.
scary thing. So these women
scary.
are brave to commit in the first place, but it is only
Right.
4 weeks. And so you commit to 4 weeks, and we do it on Tuesdays, either the afternoon or the evening session. And it's a process group. So we give a lot of education, a lot of worksheets, and then they learn different tools. They go home. The whole week is about practicing,
Yes.
exploring your body,
Yes.
looking at yourself in the mirror, falling in love with yourself, with no pressure that another partner needs to be incorporated,
Right.
with no pressure to even masturbate at first,
Right.
but just to explore your body.
Right.
Then we come back and we process as a group of women in a safe space. Did you do the homework? Were you bored? Were you aroused? Were you nervous? What came up for you?
Right. What's the experience around it? Do you notice a theme?
Boredom.
Boredom.
Well, anxiety. Anxiety's huge.
Anxiety's huge.
And boredom. Yeah. I was
Boredom.
surprised by boredom.
Because do you think that's just because we're overstimulated in our society and all up in the head? So we can't even. Yeah.
I'm thinking about the dishes I want to do,
Sure.
and the email I need to send, and I know I'm supposed to be looking at my body in the mirror and connecting to it.
So really, boredom is distraction, mental distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really love this because, as one of the priestess tenets is really about knowing yourself and loving yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the body is certainly, as an American woman, we are just bombarded with everything that's wrong, nothing that's right. And, we're supposed to look like, 10-year-old boys or whatever. I mean, it's like, okay, that's never going to happen. And, the idea of wearing, a big robe, like the Arab women, it like looks appealing, I can actually understand how that would be so satisfying to go out in public and not be judged. So how do you help women get past the judgment? And especially also I want to say in our culture, many women have suffered with breast cancer. Now the breasts are such a big deal in our culture. What if you only have one? What if what does that look like for women? Yeah.
Well, we're human. We're going to judge.
We're judgmental.
We're judgmental. And so to say that we're never going to judge or to eliminate judgment is very difficult. I have it in one of my homework sheets saying, notice your body without judgment. And then I tell the women, it's really impossible. But
it can get less.
But if you notice when you judge, can you invite the judgment
Right.
and be gentle with it and then let it go a little bit more?
Right. Because it would seem that, and again, priestess is big on pleasure. It's so important to have pleasure and to be relaxed in oneself. That's how we get really empowered. I mean, that is a huge way that we give our power away, is for somebody else to tell us if we're attractive or we're sexual or whatever we're waiting for somebody else to tell us.